Hi everyone, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. We've got a raw video today. No editing, no inserts, just thee and me, the camera, and hopefully your attention. I got so many things going on at the moment, I simply don't have the time. But I wanted to discuss this whole Oblivion Remastered business because there is a lot of conversation surrounding the change in the character creator screen from male and female, going away from that and putting in body type 1 and body type 2. Whereas the rest of the whole game is a completely faithful recreation of Oblivion. A couple of tweaks here and there in terms of gameplay to make it a little bit better for people, and a couple more voice actors brought in to give races their own identity. There's a trigger word right now, isn't there? And so altogether, the game itself hasn't been altered. So a lot of people are really kind of up in arms about this change. And there's a lot of pushback as well, saying, well, what you complain about, the game itself is amazing. Well, two things can be right at the same time. And we seem to be in an era where you've got to have all your eggs in one basket and you can't have any kind of nuanced discussion. I've bought the game. I've been playing the game. I've streamed the game. Every minute that I've played, you've seen it live on camera, and I'm loving it. I'm a big fan of the Oblivion original game. I put goodness knows how many hours into that video game, and this remake has excited me to no end. And not only that, but this remake of a 19-year-old video game displays how absolutely off the rails the Western gaming industry truly is. It really embarrasses the Western gaming industry that a game of 19 years old that's had a modernized technological facelift for 2025 has 100% embarrassed Ubisoft with Assassin's Creed, has embarrassed EA and BioWare with Dragon Age the Veilguard, and to be quite honest with you, has displayed unbelievable exploration, combat, RPG elements, which put the vast majority of Western video games to shame. Compare Avowed, for example, with this Oblivion remake, and it's Avowed that looks like it's the 19-year-old video game, and it's the Oblivion remake that feels like it's the fresh, brand new game. And a lot of this has got to do with many different factors with the Western gaming industry. Predominantly, I would say, is the focus on monetization over creativity. I think that stifled a lot of video games over the course of the last decade, particularly. Also, the insertion of modern day far left ideology. I don't want to just say politics, because it isn't. It's the insertion of far left ideology making decision-making processes in where a video game goes, making it exceedingly unattractive for people to deal with. South of Midnight was just a poorly made video game. And it was diabolical. The gameplay was terrible. You can have as many pretty graphics in a video game, but if you can't grab the attention of your audience, you're not going to go anywhere. And of course, we saw Dragon Age the Veilguard, which was one of the biggest jokes in video game history, if not the punchline of video game history. And if the Western gaming industry doesn't look at the mistakes of Dragon Age the Veilguard and course correct, then they're doomed to fail, because the East isn't doing any of this. The East doesn't have identity politics, gender politics within its vernacular. So it just concentrates on trying to make money. So it targets, this is going to sound crazy, its target demographic. So when it creates its characters, it wants its characters to look attractive to the player. And I don't just mean physically attractive, which they do, and that is absolutely correct. But they want the male characters to look buff and strong and masculine and dominating. So you got that power fantasy when you're playing. And they want the female characters to not just be kick-ass, but they want them to be feminine and sexy and look like they can kick your ass in a blink of an eye. They know exactly who their target audience is, and they are creating video games for that target audience, and they're making bank. While the Western gaming industry is laying people off, the Eastern gaming industry is giving their developers and employees pay rises. It's absolutely crazy when you think of how different the Eastern and Western gaming industries are focusing. Ubisoft, when they released Assassin's Creed Shadows, had to sell 25% of the company within the first week because they clearly saw that the sales were not there. Within the first couple of days, they realized it was done. It was dead. And in actual fact, they haven't even updated their fake player count of 3 million players. We've got 3 million players in the game, not sales, players. That hasn't been updated ever since they put that out. So we know that it's less than 3 million sales. It's probably somewhere in the region of 1.5, I would say 1.8 million. Just kind of using this similar demographics which we've gone through in the past, somewhere likely around there, 2 million at the probably absolute most. So the game failed miserably. I mean, failed way more than I thought it could possibly fail. But somehow it managed to do so. But that's what happens when a bunch of pathetic, woke, Western gaming developers try and tell a nation how they should live their lives. And that's the problem with far left politics being inserted, because it's not the politics of inclusion and diversity and all this, flowery shit which they pretend that it goes around. No, it's an ideology of lecturing and preaching and telling you how you should be thinking. It's not trying to engage you in discourse. It's telling you exactly how they believe you should live your life. And so when somebody tries to do that, spoiler alert, you're not the good guys. Okay? You're the fucking bad guys. Don't tell people how to live their life. If you think there is a better way to live, encourage people to do so, but you've got to encourage people and do so by showing the positives of it. And all you display is the negatives. We've gone away from the whole history of humankind, biological fact, male and female, into there are now 68 bazillion genders and they're growing every day because these absolute weirdos are just making them up as they go along. And if you want to pander to that demographic, you're never going to win because the bar is always going to be changing. It's always in flux. It's fluid. Let's use some of their language, which is just stupid. So you can never keep up. You can never catch up. And as we've seen multiple times, it's also never good enough. You bend the knee for one thing, and then suddenly they've got a new thing that they want you to do. It's never enough. And we've seen an escalation in recent times of men invading female sports because they cannot compete with other men. And this is cowardice, and this is actual misogyny. Not the fake misogyny of Twitter because nobody accepts Abby as a video game character in The Last of Us Part 2, therefore you're a misogynist. Not that crap. No, it's just because she's a terrible character that nobody cares about. Meanwhile, there's tens and thousands of other characters in TV, film, video game, which people absolutely adore because they've earned that right. They've been fun to watch. They've been interesting, compelling, empathetic. So just because they create terrible female characters doesn't actually mean you're a misogynist. But when you're a man and you invade female sports, you invade female changing rooms, toilets, I don't know what could be more misogynistic than that. Where men are winning female awards. This is utter insanity. Men are better than women. That is the definition of misogyny, and that's what these people are doing. So the whole of history, the whole of biological fact, male and female, it's not difficult to work out. So let's go back to the two things can be right at the same time. If the game of Oblivion, this remaster, wanted to be as faithful as it said it was, and the video game is absolutely that, then why change the character creation screen in the first place? Because you had the easy out. You put male and female there, as it was in the original, and if anybody complains about it, all you have to say is this is a faithful adaptation, this is a faithful remaster of the actual video game, and this is how it is. It's male, female, and there's gendered language in the game. Now, if that's something that you're offended by, that's not our problem. They don't even have to say that bit, because that bit is potentially antagonistic, but they just have to say it's a faithful recreation, and that's how it was. Leave it at that. That's all they have to say. So the fact that they did change it from male and female to body type 1 and body type 2 is actually displaying their allegiance to the far left ideology, and that is what's pissing people off. Because they don't want that. They just want the game. Because the game itself is phenomenal. This remake is, and it is a remake, never mind a remaster. This remake is fantastic. It's beautiful. I am so enamored by it so far. I'm loving the gameplay. I'm loving the world. I'm loving the exploration. It's still got some of that goofy Elder Scrolls stuff, the dialogues, you know, kind of just being crazy. The silly little walking into horses, walking into that. I love it. I love it because it gives it character and it makes it feel like that legitimate experience that we've had. And so to separate the two is a little bit odd. People just want you to avoid all of that. And to be perfectly honest with you, video game companies in the West, if you don't start to do so, you're going to lose more customers, because all you've done by changing it from male and female to body type 1 and body type 2 is give people an excuse not to buy it, which is the insanity. It appears to be selling well, and I'm really, really glad that it is selling well. But the point is, it could have sold even better, potentially. And all you had to do was say, this is just a faithful remake, just the way it always was. And that's the end of that story. When you start to give people a reason not to purchase the game, that's not good business practice. Now, I understand why some people don't want to do it, because they're so sick and tired of this far left ideology infecting the Western gaming industry that they've had enough. Now, we can argue till we're blue in the face that they're missing out on a great game, because they are. However, I understand two things can be right at the same time. I understand why they would potentially have that stance. So the Western gaming industry has created this problem themselves. They brought this problem on themselves. Now, Nexus Mods actually banned a mod that changed it from body type 1 back to male and female, back to its original form. However, Nexus Mods have now reversed that decision and said that it doesn't actually violate our terms of service, and therefore that mod is okay. It may cause some debate. To me, that's just the debate of fucking weirdos. And so they're locking off the comment section, but now the mod is back on for people that want to do that. So really, if you're having a go at people who are not happy that they put the body type 1 and body type 2 in it, two things can be right at the same time. Particularly if you fought the battle in another game, Dragon Age the Veilguard, for instance, or Avowed, or South of Midnight, or Dustborn, or that other stupid game which failed miserably that Sweet Baby Inc. had their 3 fingers up. Nobody is here to buy this game because of body type 1 and body type 2. Everybody who's purchased the game is here for the body of the video game, the faithful remaster of Oblivion. And I think another reason why some people are up in arms about the body type 1 and body type 2 is that they fear, and this is a legitimate fear, that companies like Bethesda could say, well, look, we inserted it here and everybody was fine with it, so therefore it must be okay going forward. When in reality, nobody is here for that nonsense. Everybody is here for that 19-year-old video game, which is currently putting the whole of the Western gaming industry to absolute shame. That's why. So I absolutely understand people who are pissed with the body type 1 and the body type 2. I get it. Because it, in some ways, draws away from the great work which has been done creating this Oblivion Remaster. And it's actually locking some of the audience out from appreciating it, which is a video game company you don't want. So I've been a very, very harsh critic of Bethesda because Starfield was a pile of wank and it's a dead game. And it isn't a dead game because a year and a half ago, I had a rant and a rave about the stupid fucking pronouns or the stupid gender ideology in it. No, it's an utter failure because from a developer point, from a gameplay point, it was dull, disinteresting, empty, barren, and to be perfectly honest, an absolute antithesis of what made Bethesda games great. Bethesda games like Oblivion, where you can come out of the server at the beginning of the game and do what the hell you want. Explore at your leisure. Get into some eyelid ruins, some mines, some caves, some storylines, some cities, murder mysteries. You can get into whatever you want to do, which you couldn't really do in Starfield. There was nothing there whatsoever to engage people. And so as somebody that's been a harsh critic of Bethesda and their boring Indiana Jones game, I'm imploring you, when you do things like this, when you put your body type 1 and your body type 2 instead of your male and female, you are literally just cutting off potential customers, because you will get more customers by having that faithful adaptation and actually living in reality than you will by pandering to people who won't buy your game. Because you will not raise game sales changing it from male, female to body type 1 and body type 2 or class A or class B, whatever you want to phrase it as. But as we've seen from Lords of the Fallen, for example, when they changed away from body type and went back to male and female, they actually got a boost in sales. Because people just live in reality. And if you want to create barriers for yourself, then you're as stupid as I currently think the Western gaming industry is. Because that Oblivion remaster is phenomenal. And the people that rebuilt it and the people that put the time and effort and all of that to rebuild that game, and I believe it's in development for 3 years, have done an exceptional job. And I can't help but give them all the praise under the sun. Because I feel like I'm playing Oblivion exactly as it was in 2006, but with this unbelievable 2025 technological makeover. Don't give people excuses not to buy your product. You're only hurting yourself. There are too many video games already made, too many films already made, too many television shows already made, too many comics already made, that people in 2025 don't have to pick up the new thing simply because it's the new thing. They can fall back on a plethora of incredible content. So why not just give them an excuse to buy from you, as opposed to an excuse to leave you alone? That's my 10 cents, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the vid. If you do, drop it a like, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you in the next video. You take care. Bye for now.